I want to start with the short-term implications of this. With Ottawa's agreed to defer some of the payments that were looming, that would have required money to go into an account essentially for things like cost overruns. What kind of financial relief does that give the province in the short term?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, the province would have had to come up with almost $1 billion, almost all of which was due in December of this year. And as we know, every treasury across the country is tapped during the current global economic crisis, but ours in particular, with the commodity issues from oil and gas, and we're simply not in. We weren't in a great position, and this will certainly give us more financial flexibility, if you will, planning into 2021. So it's a good day for Newfoundland and Labrador.
Right. So it's money that's deferred, though, right? It's not forgiven. So when do you have to make these payments? Will it just be as they're incurred, or how does it work now?
Well, there's two parts of today's announcement. One was the deferral of these payments, some of which we would eventually have to pay, assuming there's no change in the financial structure of Muskrat Falls. But over half is based in what we call as a CREA account, or a cost overrun account, that we're not going to pay. Instead, we're going to use the money that's already been put aside in the CREA account to further give Nalcor the flexibility to finish this project. But more exciting about today's news was the announcement of a negotiation for what I will call phase 2 of today's announcement, which is restructuring the financial deal that is Muskrat Falls in partnership with our federal colleagues.
Okay, so that's where I wanted to go next, because you're right, long term there is this commitment to do this financial restructuring. So what does that look like? Are we talking about Ottawa buying a part of this, taking on some of the debt? I mean, how is that going to work?
Well, everything is on the table right now, and we were excited today that the Prime Minister gave his commitment towards negotiations and appointed Serge Dupont with respect to the federal side. And we have Brendan Paddock here from the provincial rate mitigation team, and the two of them will get together and hammer out a deal. The terms of reference, which we will release within the oncoming days. And we hope to have a term sheet in the spring of 2021 and have this deal executed by the fall of 2021, before or as the project is being commissioned. So it's a big day today with the endorsement of the Prime Minister and Serge Dupont, and a direction, a critical path, the first step in a critical path towards a resolution of this Muskrat Falls and the financial implications it has, not just for the provincial treasury, but for the people of the province of Newfoundland and Labrador.
But Premier, I want to ask about those timelines. I mean, how firm are those? Because there have been conversations about fixing Muskrat Falls predating your time in that office. I mean, are these firm deadlines that there will be a tentative agreement to term sheet by the spring and then a final agreement by the fall? Is that locked in?
Well, that's our intention. I mean, that is certainly our intention moving forward. And you saw the Prime Minister on the call this morning announcing Serge Dupont, and that gives us great confidence that those timelines are going to be adhered to. Certainly, we have a new date certain provided in terms of November 2021 for the project, and by all accounts, this project will be commissioned in the fall of 2021. So we have that real timeline of quickly approaching. So I think these timelines are not only real, they're prudent, and they would be the most responsible ones for both sides of the federal government and the provincial government with respect to negotiating a deal that works for both sides.
So the timelines are, you're hoping those are firm, but I want to talk a little bit about just the options that are, you say all options are on the table, but I mean, how likely is it we could see the federal government buy a piece of Muskrat Falls?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to assign probabilities to likelihoods of outcomes as the negotiations are just starting. That's the whole purpose of negotiations. We set the framework, you set the terms of references, and then two parties will eventually land on a deal. But I'm quite happy today that the Prime Minister has given the direction that Newfoundland and Labrador can be a part of the green battery that drives the Atlantic Canada, indeed Eastern Canada. And I think Muskrat Falls and this deal will help fulfill that vision for the country.
You've mentioned Serge Dupont a couple of times now. He's been appointed to lead these negotiations for the federal government. He also helped revive the TMX pipeline project when the courts blocked it and ordered it to go back through another process. So he seems to be the type of person the Prime Minister turns to when they've got something they want to get done and get done fairly quickly. So people looking at Mr. Dupont and people in Newfoundland and Labrador may not know who he is. What should they make of this appointment?
Well, I think, today's announcement highlights a couple of things. The Prime Minister was involved in today's announcement. The Prime Minister appointed Serge Dupont. Serge DuPont has a history, as you say, on executing deals on behalf of the federal government. These are all positive signals towards outcome-driven measures that the Prime Minister wants to advance, and we want to advance it with them collectively through negotiations. So the fact that Serge DuPont is in charge of this with respect to the federal negotiation side is a huge signal to Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, and indeed Canadians, that this is a serious item that the Prime Minister has given due consideration and wants to advance, and I believe those timelines also reflect that.
Beyond renegotiating the financial structure of Muskrat Falls, Mr. DuPont has also been tasked with making progress on electrification on the Atlantic Loop project. In Labrador right now, there's Gull Island, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, undeveloped hydro assets in North America. Is that something that your conversations with Mr. DuPont could include?
Well, we'll certainly see. I mean, it'd be interesting to discuss Gull Island with Mr. DuPont. And moving forward. But I mean, I will say this, today's announcement is more about the immediate relief and how we can restructure Muskrat Falls. We are blessed with an abundance of green energy here in Newfoundland and Labrador, and we can be that battery that powers the rest of Atlantic Canada as they transition away from coal. And we want to do that. And we would be happy to do that with federal partners. But I will tell the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, I'm not interested in creating a Muskrat Falls 2.0.
Okay, well, you lead a minority government, so obviously Muskrat Falls 2.0 is not something you'd want to promise in that situation. But does this arrangement with the federal government, does this constitute your election issue? Is this the sort of thing you would take to an election, or will you promise not to go to the polls until these negotiations are concluded?
No, I mean, I'm committed to the promise that I will follow the letter of the law, and in Newfoundland and Labrador, that means that there has to be an election in 2021. And I think it's important for people to reflect on the relationship that I have with the Prime Minister and how we've advanced this file so quickly in the under 4 months that I've been in this seat. And I look forward to advancing it even further into 2021, and hopefully the people of Newfoundland and Labrador give the blessing beyond 2021.
Would you commit to at least getting the term sheet done, that first phase of negotiations before you had an election? Is that something you'd want to see done before you went to the polls?
As I said, I'm going to follow the letter of the law, which is 2021.
All right, Premier, thanks so much for your time. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.